A 2,600-year-old mystery might have just been solved. Lost in the ancient city of Jerusalem in 586 BC, the Sacred Ark of the Covenant has scientists and archaeologists making their way back in history, trying to rediscover it. Now, they have made shocking discoveries, revealing secrets surrounding the baffling puzzle of the Ark's disappearance. Scientists just announced that they have finally opened the Ark of the Covenant, unveiling its mysterious content. What did they find? What do these new findings signify? Join us as we dive into the details. The Ark of the Covenant played two major roles in the Hebrew Bible. Firstly, it served as a chest to house the stone tablets bearing the Ten Commandments, a foundational set of laws for the Israelites. This ark was covered entirely in gold and held not only the tablets but also a golden jar containing manna and Aaron's rod, which miraculously blossomed. However, the ark had a deeper significance beyond its physical purpose. It was regarded as a spiritual channel, a place where Yahweh, the God of Israel, communicated with Moses and the Israelite priests. The ark accompanied the Israelites into battle, often playing a role in their victories. For instance, during their crossing of the Jordan River, priests carrying the ark stopped the water's flow, enabling their passage. This divine interaction made it a symbol of God's presence among his people. The Ark of Covenant was constructed during the Israelites' encampment near Mount Sinai, where Moses received the Ten Commandments. Built in conjunction with the tabernacle, it served as a treasured sanctuary for believers. Whenever the Israelites journeyed and established the tabernacle, the ark found its place in the innermost chamber, secluded by a veil from the rest of the sacred structure. Due to the sanctity of the Ark of Covenant, strict regulations governed its handling and proximity to people. It was encased in a specially designed tent within the tabernacle and was guarded by Levite priests. Only the high priest could access the innermost chamber, the Holy of Holies, where the ark resided. Even this was permitted just once annually during the Day of Atonement, a solemn occasion when the high priest sought forgiveness for the people by sprinkling blood on the mercy seat. Now, while these are the well-known facts mentioned about the ark in historical accounts, recent scientific discoveries have unveiled lesser-known aspects that might shock many. These discoveries change many things about what we know. We are aware that any deviation from the prescribed rituals before touching the ark was met with severe consequences. An example was when Uzzah died just because he touched the ark to stabilize it during transport. Similarly, when the Philistines took the ark, calamity befell them until they returned it, indicating its sacred nature and the need for reverence. Since the ark holds so much power, it cannot be stolen or hijacked. This raises a mystifying question: how did the Ark of Covenant disappear in the first place? The ark's disappearance from historical records has left a gaping mystery. The last known mention of it in the Hebrew Bible is in 2 Chronicles 35 verse 3, detailing King Josiah's efforts to restore the temple in Jerusalem. There are many theories around regarding its fate. One popular belief suggests the Babylonians, upon conquering Jerusalem in 586 BCE, burned or possibly took the ark. While historical accounts mention the Babylonian looting of the temple, the ark isn't explicitly listed among the spoils. There's no concrete evidence linking the Babylonians to the ark. Another intriguing story involves Menelik, the son of King Solomon and Queen Sheba. Ethiopian folklore speaks of Menelik taking the ark from Jerusalem to Ethiopia, safeguarding it within a temple in Am. This temple was supposedly concealed by monks for centuries. The Kebra Nagast, a 14th-century Ethiopian text, is a major source for the theory about the Ark of the Covenant. It narrates Menelik's journey to Jerusalem, where he encountered his father, King Solomon. Solomon wanted Menelik to stay and rule his kingdom, but he chose to return to Ethiopia. Guided by divine intervention, he and some allies transported the ark. Ethiopian traditions support this theory. In every Ethiopian church, a replica called a tablet, representing the ark, is paraded during Timkit, the holiest festival for Ethiopian Orthodox Christians. The country also has a history of Jewish influence, with the Beta Israel community believed by some to be descendants of Menelik or other Israelites who migrated to Ethiopia. Moreover, Ethiopian emperors have claimed descent from Solomon and Sheba, using this lineage to justify their rule. However, this story lacks historical or archaeological support. The site where the ark was said to be remains inaccessible, unverified by anyone. There's even the famous tale of an Adventist adventurer who claimed to have found the ark. But this, too, lacks substantial proof or corroboration. According to Jewish tradition documented in various old texts like the Zohar, Talmud, and Midrash, King Josiah foresaw Jerusalem's fall and hid the ark along with other holy items in a secret chamber beneath the Temple Mount. The entry was sealed, supposedly marked for the Messiah's eyes only. Some biblical passages hint at the ark's presence within the temple during its destruction. This particular theory gained some weight from archaeological findings, as it suggested there are unexplored chambers and tunnels beneath the Temple Mount. Events like the 1981 attempt to destroy the Dome of the Rock, riots over a tunnel's opening in 1996, and claims made in a 2007 documentary suggest potential connections to the hidden ark. However, many scholars dispute these claims, citing a lack of substantial historical or textual evidence. While this theory is popular, some scholars have explored different avenues in the search for the lost ark. For instance, they investigated the Dead Sea Scrolls, particularly the Copper Scroll. Unlike other scrolls, this one is made of metal and lists 64 locations where gold and silver items were hidden. It's believed these treasures came from Jerusalem's temple and were concealed before its destruction in 586 BCE. And here is the fascinating part. The Copper Scroll mentioned that the ark is potentially located near the Dead Sea, possibly in River Jordan. According to the scroll, it follows that the ark is situated around a place called the Valley of Acre, near Qumran, where the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered. All of these claims lack concrete proof or credible documentation to support their assertions. Some discoveries have also been presented without substantial archaeological backing or scientific validation, making it hard to accept them as factual findings. Another critical challenge is the conflicting accounts and varied locations proposed for the ark's discovery. Different theories have pinpointed distinct places. This undoubtedly leaves the question of the ark's true location widely open. The discrepancies in proposed discovery sites have further muddled the search for truth. But multiple theories and many discrepancies after, some scientists finally confirmed that a specific site holds the actual Ark of Covenant. They not only found the Ark but also opened it to discover the items hidden inside. How the Ark of Covenant was discovered. In the 1980s, a self-taught researcher, Ron Wyatt, claimed to have found the Ark under Jerusalem. Wyatt alleged discovering an altar stone which suggested that early Christians identified the significance of that area. Further exploration of the area revealed holes believed to be the crucifixion posts, including a distinct one possibly linked to Jesus. Wyatt's narrative intertwined biblical predictions with archaeological findings, adding intrigue to the search for the Ark. He also pinpointed a site believed to be the same spot referenced in the Bible where the rock split in sorrow over Joseph's death. His team, while excavating caves, claimed to discover the Ark of Covenant in one of these caverns. In a 1999 interview with Anchorstone International, Wyatt gave the details of his findings before succumbing to cancer. He described spotting a peculiar black substance dried in a cave's roof crack above the Ark, with traces outside on a stone. According to him, this crack is linked to the events surrounding Christ's crucifixion. Allegedly, blood and water from Christ's side wound poured onto the mercy seat through a similar crack, just like how Moses sanctified the tablets with blood and water. Wyatt, however, insisted that his images and films of the Ark couldn't be shared due to divine interference. Later, when he returned for additional proof, he claimed to have encountered 4 angels who warned against revealing the discovery until a future religious event. The acclaimed discovery of the Ark came unexpectedly, even for Wyatt. He was simply on a trip with his children to Israel when he got sunburned while scuba diving and had to return to the US. During his waiting period for the flight back home, he strolled around an ancient stone quarry known as the Calvary Escarpment. He chatted with a local expert there about Roman artifacts, casually walking until something odd happened. Suddenly, Wyatt's left hand pointed at a trash dump, and he said, "That's Jeremiah's grotto, and the Ark of the Covenant is in there." Strangely enough, these words tumbled out of his mouth and his hand pointed, seemingly without his conscious control. This was the very first time the idea of digging for the Ark crossed his mind. To Wyatt's surprise, the man with him, usually not one to act out of character, also reacted strangely. He was ecstatic, offering support, permits, accommodation, and meals for his newly developed excavation venture. However, Wyatt decided to hold off on accepting the generous offer. He wanted to investigate further before diving headfirst into the excavation. In his search, he traced the last biblical mention of the Ark's location in Jerusalem to around 621 BC, just 35 years before Nebuchadnezzar's onslaught and the city's destruction. As we already know, the Ark vanished from records between 621 BC and 586 BC when Jerusalem and the Temple were obliterated. In his thorough study of scriptures, Wyatt found detailed accounts of items looted by invaders from the Temple. There were spoons and furniture, but strangely, no mention of the Ark. Even when items were brought back from Babylon, the Ark wasn't among them, as Jeremiah 28 verse 3 indicates. Shishak and Sennacherib, other conquerors, raided the temple too but left out the Ark of the Covenant. That was how Wyatt pieced together a theory that the Ark was hidden right before the temple's destruction, within the city and Babylonian siege walls. Since the city and temple met their end in 586 BC, he figured the Ark must have escaped that fate by not being within the city limits. After his research, he carried on with his excavation and things got even stranger. Wyatt mentioned having met Jesus during his time in the location. According to his narrative, Jesus wore a hand-woven garment and mentioned he was traveling from South Africa to the New Jerusalem. This is, of course, remarkable and leaves many skeptical. But the stories become more extraordinary. There are reports of individuals supposedly meeting their end after interfering with the excavations or attempting to enter the site with ill intentions. These stories create a cloud of mystery and add an aura of the supernatural to the whole affair. Wyatt claimed to have entered the Ark chamber multiple times, each visit laden with curious details. In his initial visits, he didn't actually see the Ark. During one visit, despite struggling with severe illness, he speculated the Ark lay within a stone box before losing consciousness. On another occasion, using a medical colonoscope, he peered through a crack in the stone box, catching a glimpse of gold he believed belonged to the Ark. However, the most astounding event happened on his fourth visit. As he entered the chamber, he claimed that it was unexpectedly devoid of the tons of rocks that had filled it before. Allegedly, the Ark and temple artifacts were all arranged neatly, and that was when he met 4 angels, described as guardians from the time the Ark was hidden 2,600 years ago. Jonathan Gray has even written extensively about Ron Wyatt's supposed discovery of the Ark of the Covenant. Gray's accounts largely echo Wyatt's claims, depicting a series of remarkable findings linked to biblical artifacts. He wrote a book called Ark of the Covenant: The Case for the True Discovery. In his book, Gray aimed to present evidence supporting Wyatt's assertions and make a solid case for the authenticity of the discovery. Gray's book attempted to provide a detailed account of Wyatt's findings, describing the circumstances, methods, and evidence that Wyatt put forward to support his claim of discovering the Ark. It tried to showcase various aspects of the discovery, including Wyatt's excavation process, the artifacts supposedly found alongside the Ark, and the alleged divine assistance Wyatt claimed to have received during the exploration. However, it didn't do a good job of portraying this. It was more like a narration without solid facts, just as Wyatt's own account had been. The book received mixed reviews. Some readers praised the book for its compelling narrative and the attempt to lay out evidence supporting the findings. Also, some critics questioned the credibility of the evidence presented in the book, citing a lack of empirical support and scientific scrutiny. Since Ron Wyatt is no longer alive and didn't leave a piece of solid evidence behind, many people continue to doubt his findings, and their doubt is clearly not unfounded. His excavations were filled with a lot of supernatural intervention, which could either mean that it all was a lie or explain how he saw and maybe even touched the Ark of Covenant without dire consequences. It's because of this doubt that some archaeologists are now exploring the ancient town of Kiriath Jearim. This was the spot mentioned in the Bible as the Ark's resting place for about 2 decades before its move to Jerusalem. While they haven't and probably won't find the Ark, their discoveries paint a vivid picture of ancient Israelite history and the roots of Judaism. Biblical scholars have a theory that the story of the Ark was a separate story that circulated around the 8th century BCE. This narrative was later integrated into the biblical texts found in the books of Samuel, possibly just before the Babylonian exile. The story about David transporting the Ark to Jerusalem seems to have been a later addition to this original Ark narrative. The original story might have ended with the Ark's arrival in Kiriath Jearim, according to some scholars like Roma. Roma speculates that the Ark might have lingered in Kiriath Jearim for a longer period. It was likely during Josiah's reign that the Ark was brought to Jerusalem as part of centralizing both religious and political activities. This could explain the silence about the Ark in later narratives, as Judah's fate was sealed shortly after Josiah's reign, falling to the Babylonians. This explains why some archaeologists are hoping to find more about the Ark in Kiriath Jearim. But while they are yet to make headway, let's explore the findings of Ron Wyatt, who not only claimed to find the Ark of the Covenant but also discovered its other content. How special is the Ark of Covenant? Wyatt claimed to find the Ark in a hidden chamber in Jerusalem, but he also found the table of showbread, the golden altar of incense positioned before the veil, the golden censer, a 7-branched candlestick holder with tiny golden oil lamps, a brass shekel weight, numerous oil lamps, and a brass ring seemingly used to hang a curtain or something similar, among other things. All of these items were concealed by dark-colored, dry-rotted animal skins, followed by deteriorated wooden timbers, and finally, large rocks heaped over everything. On the back of the Ark, there was a small open cubicle containing the Book of the Law, likely penned by Moses himself. The scrolls, written on animal skins, were found in impeccable condition. The Ark contained sacred objects, including Aaron's rod and a pot of manna, which were placed inside as a reminder of God's presence and provision. Diving again into these specific objects, Rabbi Mark Gellman, a writer who was also featured on the American TV program, The God Squad, once talked about the symbolism of all the objects inside the Ark. He connected the significance of the jar of manna, the tablets of the Ten Commandments, and Aaron's flowering staff to profound life lessons. The manna for him means sustenance in the desert, and it mirrors Gandhi's wisdom. This understanding led Rabbi Gellman to dedicate himself to work with food rescue networks, understanding that alleviating hunger is a tangible expression of faith. It's a lesson Jews and Christians have also learned. The presence of Aaron's flowering staff in the Ark lies not in the staff itself, but in the flowers, according to Rabbi Gellman. It signifies the essence of faith, emphasizing joyfulness. He cites Psalm 100, encouraging service to the Lord with joy, and quotes Bertrand Russell and Rabindranath Tagore to highlight the significance of joy and service in life. There's also the mercy seat, which is the lid for the Ark. The Hebrew term for this lid is kapret, sometimes translated as a mercy seat or an atonement cover. This golden cover, mirroring the dimensions of the Ark, features a pair of cherubim on top. According to God's instructions to Moses, this mercy seat would be a place of divine communication and atonement sacrifice. Symbolically, it represented God's presence among the people. While scientists claim to have finally opened the Ark of Covenant, the only complete narrative available is that of Ron Wyatt. Displaying the Ark of the Covenant today might not carry the same religious or political weight it did in ancient times, too. Both Judaism and Christianity have thrived for centuries without it. Still, it's crucial to employ caution. Any attempt to assert ownership over the Ark could trigger conflicts among Jews, Muslims, and Christians, all vying for Jerusalem's holy sites. This is probably why the truth about the Ark's discovery has been kept under wraps, to ensure that peace is preserved among all religions. Thanks for watching another episode of Beyond the Cosmos. Check out another of our videos by clicking on the link on your screen right now. See you on the other side.